This is Mari Robeson of Love Lulu Creative, a podcast that supports and celebrates artists and creative entrepreneurs while giving back to the community in a unique and meaningful way. This is episode number 24, and I am super excited to have Andrea Kendall from Spark Your Art back on the show today, and we are talking all about Pinterest. She really is sharing a wealth of advice for all of us artists out here who should really be using Pinterest as a marketing tool to sell our artwork. And you might want to get a paper and pen out for this. There's a lot of information, but if you don't have that handy, you're listening in your car or whatever, she has, I'll put a link in the show notes that is a lot. It'll go right to her website. She's got all the information there that we talk about and even more. So you can just check it out over on her website. It's free information and really, really helpful. Also, if you are enjoying these episodes, I would deeply appreciate it if you would share it with your creative friends and spread the word and we want to help all these artists out there because the world needs their art and we're in this together, guys. So if you'd help me share these episodes, I would deeply appreciate it. And subscribing to this channel is really, really helpful as well. Okay, that's it. Stay tuned. This is a really good one. I think you're really going to like this with the lovely Andrea Kendall talking all things Pinterest. Hi, Andrea. I'm so excited to have you back here again. And we are going to talk all things Pinterest for artists. And I'm super excited because I am the classic student for this because I have never utilized Pinterest for my artwork. And so I'm really excited to hear all your helpful information for us. So thanks for being here.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me back. I'm really excited to talk to you about this topic because I think it's just this untapped resource for artists, this platform that's kind of sitting out there waiting for us to use and isn't used by a lot of artists. So I'd like to, really share so many thoughts on why this is important, the opportunity that's there, and actually how easy it is to use. It's surprisingly easy compared to Instagram and Facebook. So super excited to talk to you about this today.
Me too, because I'm excited to learn about this and not just have it for recipes and interior design ideas. I mean, I love it for that too, but I really want to understand how this could be a really strong marketing tool for selling your artwork. So why, as an artist, should I be using it?
So if you think about how we're using social media in general, it's really very interactive and it's something where you're actually interacting with another person. So Instagram and Facebook are very much those sorts of platforms and they require a lot of work and maintenance to have that kind of interaction. Pinterest is different in that it's a search engine. So if you think about how you're using it, when you go on there for interior design inspiration, you're doing a search. You're maybe looking for, living room decor ideas. And the awesome opportunity there for artists is that if your artwork is being tagged, if you're tagging it and writing comments and captions that the search engine on Pinterest can pick up on, your artwork is going to end up in that rabbit hole that's created that you go down when you're looking for inspiration for decorating a room. So there's so much opportunity for getting in front of an audience that's actually searching for the kinds of things that you have to offer, unlike on Instagram and Facebook where it's just more social and the purpose for being there is a little bit different. So that's kind of just like the tip of the iceberg on why Pinterest is so awesome for artists.
I'm gonna go on a little side tangent here because right when you said that, I do use it. I mean, for many, many years, I have done interior design and I'm also an artist, but I never really thought about putting like my artwork in a photo of a room and having that description be something that's searchable on Pinterest. Even when we started this conversation, I was thinking, well, here's a picture of your artwork, but to actually put it in a setting that maybe an interior designer might land on is kind of an interesting concept. hadn't
Absolutely.
thought about that.
Yeah, and it's because we don't think of Pinterest as a search engine, but that's the kind of the shift that we have to take. If you think about how we search for things on Google, and you go into your regular search bar and you search for something, and you're looking usually for a product or you're looking for information, and so that's the same way that we use Pinterest. When I'm looking for hair inspiration, I search for certain keywords that are going to pull up the kinds of images that I want to use for inspiration. The same works for your artwork. So it's really that aspect of it being a search engine, I think, is like the biggest thing I want everyone to take away, that we have to behave differently and post differently on it to be able to leverage the power of that search engine.
That's really, really true, because I know, even like, let's say I was searching for like a chaise lounge or something like that. I would actually go to Pinterest and search for that, because I know I'm going to find maybe more curated, or like, I don't know, I'll find the prettier ones over there than just searching it straight off of like Google.
Exactly.
That's interesting. Gosh,
exactly.
I'm having an aha moment.
I love it.
Wow.
So the other thing about Pinterest that's amazing is not that just people are using it to search for things that they specifically want. They're searching for things they want to buy. It's really a place where people go to probably buy things. And I've got some really interesting statistics on the audience that I'd love to share with you.
Sure, yeah.
I think this will be super inspiring. First of all, there's 200 million users on Pinterest.
Amazing.
So that's a big, big audience, and it's growing all the time. 40% of those users have higher than six-figure income, which means that they have a little bit more flexibility to be purchasing things like art. And a lot of that has to do with there are more adults on Pinterest than there are like teenagers, and 29% of users are actually adults, like 30 and up. And this is great because that's really the demographics that's spending more money on art or on decorating their home or investment art. So where this gets super interesting is that 93% of users on Pinterest say they plan to purchase something. Their behavior is that they're going there to purchase something, not just to browse. Like when you go on Instagram, you're just looking to scroll through your feed and maybe get inspired or maybe connect with friends. But people who go to Pinterest are going to Pinterest usually because they're looking to potentially purchase something, if not now, down the road. So that's really, really exciting because we want an audience that's willing to spend money on our art, right?
Right. I'm going to ask you another little question. I mean, I do notice that I sell prints off of other people's pins of my prints on Pinterest. But what about fine art? Like, I mean, what about original artwork? Do you think people are actually going to go purchase an original piece of art with, a dollar amount on it that's a little higher, obviously, than a print? Would you think that they would be purchasing that online, or do you think that's type of work that people would want to see in person, or does it open a conversation, or what are your thoughts about that?
I think it opens the conversation. So they're probably not going with the intention of purchasing art, a big ticket item, but there is behavior that's going on online where people are more comfortable purchasing big ticket items online. When it comes to art, though, that's always, because it's more of an investment, it's more personal. It's not, an appliance or something like that. They want to understand that what they're getting is really what they can see online. So what it really does, like you said, is open up the conversation. It makes the buyer aware that you exist in the first place. So usually the path to purchase when it comes to Pinterest is that
this is good. Path to purchase.
Your audience might be going onto Pinterest to search for inspirational design ideas for their home. Like, let's stick with that idea. It's definitely the easiest one. A lot of times it's a little bit fuzzier than that, but let's say someone's looking to decorate their home and maybe they're looking for a chaise lounge, right? Like you have been. And they come across pictures of this chaise lounge, but then maybe the chaise lounge is on a board that has complementary art that works with it. And that happens to be your art. Whether you've pinned it or someone else has repinned it for inspiration is, we'll get into that a little bit more. But
oh my goodness, I'm like mood boards. I didn't even think of that one either.
It's basic, yes. If your artwork shows up on
actually, that's what I have. That's what I started on my Pinterest years ago, but abandoned. But anyway, go back.
Yeah, well, Pinterest boards really are like mood boards because you group them in categories. You're like, here's living room decor ideas for my dream home, right? And you start pinning all the things you're interested in. Someone else is interested in that same design aesthetic and might end up on that board, and your artwork is on that board. And they see it, and from it they can visit your website and visit your Instagram profile, and they can dig a little bit deeper and understand you as an artist. It starts the conversation. It gives them like this window into the fact that you exist in the first place. So it's really, you might not be seeing actual direct purchases, especially of higher priced art from Pinterest, but it certainly is going to grow your audience.
Mm-hmm. Well, and they may, they'll pop over and buy a print and then see that, oh, there's original work here too. And then they purchase the print, they have a really good experience with that. And then they get to know you, and then they are more comfortable in purchasing something at a little bit higher price.
Exactly.
Oh, this is
Isn't that awesome?
This is good stuff. So, okay, gosh, where do we even begin? So you kind of just threw out some really good ideas just for types of boards to create. Do you want to kind of talk about that a little bit more?
So yeah, I want to talk about how to set up your profile so that you.
Let's start with that. That's a good idea. Okay, so I'm all new and I'm going over to Pinterest and I'm going to start a profile. What do I do?
Okay, so as an artist, what you really want to do is approach your board from that search engine mindset. So think about what niche you have, first of all. What kind of artwork do you have? What are their themes? Or is there subject matter? What's your medium? Is it all abstract art? Do you do watercolor landscapes? Like really, what is it that you do? And if you're clear about your niche, and this is great for artists who have multiple niches, because what you'll do is you'll create boards of your artwork that have those keywords in the title. So you'll say watercolor landscapes, and then you'll post all of your watercolor landscape images in that board. And you will, on each post, make sure that you write a description of what that is. So maybe it's a sunny day at the seashore or something like that. And you put that in the title. And you can also, on your individual posts, unlike on Instagram, and you can link to your website. So it's great because if someone does stumble across that image, instead of just seeing it or having to say, go to the link in my bio to see it, to see my website like you do on Instagram, you can link directly to your website. You can link directly to that product. And what happens with those pins, once you've got them grouped and other people are discovering them, they're going to repin them in their own boards. And that's where the real power of Pinterest is, because it's not dependent on just your profile. It's dependent on your posts getting found and repinned. So when someone sees your work and they're inspired by it and they pin it on their mood board for their dream beach home, you're going to be found on, and that happens multiple times, you have this opportunity to get found in all these different places. So setting up your profile where you have grouped neat little sections of what your artwork is about based on themes is the best way to kind of get things started.
So let's say I do a board and it's watercolor room interiors, which is something that I do. Would I only be pinning my stuff, or would I pin other artists that do similar things on there?
So my recommendation is to pin complementary things. If you would like to pin other artists, you can, but you're kind of creating a little bit of competition for yourself that way. So what I would do is maybe turn it into, if you're doing room interiors, something that's complementary, like maybe some of the chaise lounge things, or furniture, or plants, or whatever would complement that your theme, so that someone coming to that board might be thinking, oh, I'm interested in the chaise lounge, but what's really happening is I'm actually decorating an entire room. And then you see the other pins there that are related. So I would pin other things to that are related to your niche, but not necessarily other artwork.
Okay. Okay, that's helpful. And then you touched a little bit on descriptions.
Yeah.
And so I know in Instagram, which I'm super excited, we're going to have a whole episode just about that, that hashtags are important but not on Facebook. So is Pinterest a platform where we want to be thinking about hashtags, or how does it work with the description? Is the description the search part, or how's that?
It's actually both. Pinterest didn't used to really do hashtags, but it's become something that they've kind of added more recently, and that is becoming important. So your description is actually the most important part for the search engine aspect. But the hashtags do help as well. So you really want to think through, rather than kind of coming up with obscure random titles, like maybe the title of your artwork is something like really obscure, to be more descriptive in what it is so that it will get found. And then the hashtags really are something to complement that. So you can do hashtag room interiors and that sort of thing. And it will, the Pinterest algorithms will pick that up as well. It's not as big a deal as it is on Instagram, though.
Okay.
Yeah, the descriptions and the titles. So you have 3 opportunities for being found, really. Yeah. So you have it's 4. So you have your board title. Unlike Instagram or Facebook, you don't have just a feed. It's an actual board, and thinking of it like a bulletin board is actually a helpful way to think about it. So you have a board, and the board has a title and this description, and that's your grouping. And then your individual posts have a title, a description, and then you can add hashtags as well as a link. So those posts, the description and title and hashtags are all opportunities for the search engine to discover you. So you want to think about really dialing in what it is you're posting and being descriptive about that in all 3 of those opportunities.
Okay, that's really, really helpful. Also, you can have a personal account or a business account. Which would you recommend?
Well, for your artwork, I definitely would recommend the business account. You're going to get deeper analytics. And also, I have a lot of people ask me, should I have I have my personal Pinterest where I'm, pinning diet ideas and things like that. Should I add my artwork to that? So you can create private boards if you want to just have one account, but I would recommend having separate art and business accounts so that you can, really just focus on keeping your profile really nice and clean, and you're not repinning things on accident to things, to boards that, aren't related. And so that when someone does come to your profile, that it's, a pretty clear experience that they're on an artist's profile. But the business account is definitely one where you're going to get analytics on who's pinning and repinning your posts. And it's going to give you deeper insight into what's working and what's not. So I definitely recommend the business account.
Okay, so I have a really old Pinterest account that I haven't gone to in a long time, but I am going to revisit this. Should I delete everything and just start fresh, or does it matter? Because some of those pins that are there that have been there for a long time do get some traction, but should I repin them? Does it matter? Do they have an algorithm where it matters, like how often you're posting, or like how it does on Instagram?
It's different than Instagram. This is pretty exciting, actually, because it's really the life cycle of a pin is so much longer than an Instagram post. I'd have to dig up some actual statistics on this, but it lasts, because it's being posted and repinned. it's got multiple places where that pin kind of lives, but it also is always accessible to search. So unlike Instagram, where if someone searches on a hashtag, your post is probably going to get buried, under years and years of other posts. That's not necessarily the case with Pinterest. So the life cycle is a lot longer. Those old pins that you have, what I'd recommend actually is, if this is artwork that you would want to get found, I would just reorganize. So maybe move that pin over to a different board, or rename your board and rename the description. Make sure you have an updated link to your website in that pin. But just kind of clean things up, because those pins that are out there, they've been out there for a while and have some traction. So you kind of want to keep that going.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So another side question with this, should you be posting often, like once a week, or like, Instagram wants you to post every day, or, is there does that matter or no?
So it doesn't matter like it does on Instagram. You do want to be consistently refreshing, but it's the kind of thing where you can sort of set it and forget it. You can post a bunch of stuff and then come back later. It doesn't have to be like every single day. It's
at a certain hour,
right? Or the timing doesn't matter. So you can batch these and do a bunch all at once, and they're gonna be on your board and searchable. So there are people who are going to their Pinterest feed and seeing what's new. So that's why it's important to post with some frequency. But the reality is most people that's not really their behavior on Pinterest. It's more going for a specific thing and searching for it. Yeah.
So it's usually, it's a product usually, or it's not necessarily, or an image of like, a beautiful room or a wedding venue or something. Do people link like this podcast, for instance, or do they link blog posts, or is that not really appropriate for Pinterest?
Oh, no, you can link anything from Pinterest posts. So, I would definitely say you should be posting this podcast up there and linking to the actual place where it lives. It doesn't have to just be products. It can be blog posts and ideas and website pages. Yeah, you can pretty much link to anything you want.
Okay, that's interesting.
And what's great about it is that link lives on. So it's really interesting when you post your post and you have a link in it, when somebody reposts it, that link is maintained, and it also links back to you as the original poster. So it's that sort of audit trail remains even after it's been shared. So we've all experienced on Instagram where things get shared and they never get attributed.
Credit, right? Yeah.
They're like just floating out there. Nobody knows whose it is. That's not the case on Pinterest. It's a lot cleaner than that. And sometimes, there is the opportunity to change the link when you repost it, but the reality is it's tacky to do that. Most people don't do it. You shouldn't do it. So, it's a little bit better in that respect.
So as an artist, though, I'm going to bring up the negative side of things, is that, I know a lot of big, how do I say this, about getting knocked off.
Oh,
so should you be watermarking your images, or how, it's great that it's linking back to your site, but someone can also just screen cap it.
For sure.
So, would you recommend having like your website on the image that you're posting, or?
I recommend that you do. I'm not a big fan of watermarks, to be honest, because they distract from the artwork. But I do like a tasteful URL or social media handle at the bottom of an image, or on the image in some way, in a tasteful way. I think that's what I usually recommend to artists if that's a concern. I definitely know that this is a big issue with copyright and licensing and images being stolen and repurposed. So I would absolutely recommend, if that's a concern, to put your website URL at the bottom so that people can find you later on, but do it in a way that's not going to distract from the artwork. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I think most people, I just bring that up because I know most people are very, very honest, but it's some, I've worked with some international companies
Yeah.
and that's their go-to for design.
Yeah,
Which I
exactly.
think is kind of why I stopped posting on Pinterest, but
Mm.
I'm sure there's got to be ways around that by doing what you're saying, either just somehow somewhere on your
Yeah.
artwork have
Well,
your signature.
it's never going to be perfect. And I've
Mhm.
talked to artists a lot about this because it comes up often because there is that concern. And I have talked to artists who have had their work ripped off, and it's such a horrible experience. And
Mhm.
so yeah, there's there's really no perfect system for it in the sense that if we want to have our artwork out there to get found, we have to share it. So,
Right.
there's
It's just the wild, wild west out there.
it really is. It really is. It can be. Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about actual format since we're talking about putting it. Is it a vertical format? Is it a horizontal format? I see now video being on there.
Post video. Yeah. So the original Pinterest format is it's a vertical, it's taller and skinnier than an Instagram or Facebook post. And it's a little bit more like a card, like a vertical card. And but you don't have to post that format. It just if all your posts are that format, it kind of makes a clean look when someone's on your board. But the reality is people are posting things of all shapes and sizes, and you're going to be repinning things. So you don't have to stick to that. But if you do want to put your artwork in a really simple Pinterest format, I don't know if you've ever used canva.com, but there's all kinds of templates on Canva. It's a free tool where you can drop your images into the correct format for all different kinds of social media platforms. They also have some nice little templates with titles and color splashes and things that maybe will draw attention to your pins a little bit more. So if you want to like jazz things up, you could do that too. So canva.com is a great resource for creating the right format.
I use Photoshop just because it's familiar, but
Photoshop, yeah.
Canva is Photoshop's super complicated, but Canva is an excellent way to go. So yeah. Okay, that's also really, really helpful.
Mm-hmm.
I also have another, this is kind of an interesting question, but I noticed like even on my own website, which is on Squarespace, whenever I post like a blog post or something, the little Pinterest symbol comes up so people can pin it off of your website. But I don't necessarily know if that's on my shop, which is on Big Cartel. And is that something you would recommend? I would think that would be something you should recommend.
Oh, absolutely. As often as you can link out to have people share your work, take advantage of those opportunities. Yeah. You can even create, and this is going back to being on Pinterest, not necessarily from your website, but you can create buyable pins where you can actually link back to, it depends on what kind of shopping experience you have set up, but in my case, I have Shopify, and that allows you to create buyable pins from Pinterest. So it links right to basically the shopping experience.
It will link to Big Cartel, but gosh, we're going to have to do a whole nother episode on Shopify because I noticed so many artists are using Shopify and it really has a beautiful, and the whole site is a really pretty site when it's designed right, obviously, but, and it seems so easy like that, so that you can just go back and forth with the
link. That's the big benefit to Shopify and why that's what I use. And that's what I usually recommend unless you're already embedded in something like Big Cartel or a different platform, because creating a whole new website is a big deal. But Shopify, it has been set up to make it really easy to sell through different social media platforms.
Yeah. Well, this was a lot of really good information. My goodness. Is there anything that you want to add to that? Because I think you've answered all my questions.
Well, yeah, there's so much more. So there's actually quite a bit more, a lot more. I feel like I just skimmed the surface of everything that you can do. But I do have an ebook that goes into greater detail on everything that I've shared about, like actual examples of the kinds of descriptions that you should use and the format of your posts and the keywords and how to use those, or the hashtags, sorry. I've got the ebook on my website. So if you go to sparkyourart.biz and go under free resources, there's an ebook and dives deep into all these topics.
So great. And absolutely, we will have the link to that on the episode. And gosh, I just can't thank you enough. This was really, really helpful. And I'm kind of excited to go repin my pins.
That's right. Get that Pinterest working for you.
Exactly. Let's sell some artwork.
That's right.
Thank you so much, Andrea.
Thank you for having me back.
Thank you so much for joining me today. If you like this podcast and you'd like to support it even more, you can join me over on patreon.com/Mari Robeson and become a patron of mine. If you're a patron of mine, you'll receive bonus episodes every month, only for patrons. You'll also receive 20% off all the merchandise in my online shop, marirobeson.bigcartel, and you will be receiving free printables every month that will be of my artwork, and they're some really fun things. You can follow along on Instagram and you can see what I'm creating just for my patrons. I would deeply appreciate it. It would help me keep the lights on, and it would help me pay all the fees that it takes to put together a podcast like this so that I can keep supporting all the artists, keep bringing you great information, keep paying it forward to the next generation of artists. It's just a wonderful thing, and I would really deeply appreciate your support.
Instagram and Facebook, where those are much more interactive. Pinterest is used to search for things. So if you think about your own behavior on Pinterest.
Okay, hold on a second.
My cat is meowing.
I love it. I'm like, wait, I know that cat. I locked mine out.